Hello, my name is Kelsey Kaufman. I am here to tell you about different characteristics of different types of exceptionalities. So, the first one I'm going to talk about is a learning disability. A learning disability means that they have difficulties with memory, short term, long term, anywhere kind of in between that. And they do not have any mental issues. That is the reason they do have a learning disability. They do have some issues with anxiety, social, and like receiving and understanding information, kind of like processing information. They are, however, on an average intellectual level, or even some are above average intellectual level. The next one I'm going to talk about is ADHD. So they're usually an average intellectual level. They just have a lot of energy that kind of gets them off track. So they can have issues with like behavioral, social, and emotional because of the way their brain is running and working, especially when they are not on their medicine. Another part about ADHD is it is hereditary. So usually, one person in your family, especially a parent, has it. There's a great possibility that you will also have it. Another one is a communication disorder. So a lot of this is like speech and language. Um, they have issues reading and writing, especially, and they also have issues like understanding the information, and even like receiving the information. They don't know how to fully process the information because they do have those issues communicating. So they may not be able to communicate directly with you, or they may not be able to communicate the test that they're taking or the assignment they're taking. So you have to assist them on that. Another one is intellectual. So intellectual usually occurs before they're 18. That's how you know if there's an intellectual one before 18. They have limitations in memory, generalization, and motivation. So memory's not that good, generalization's not that good, and motivation is definitely not that good. They also have a limitation in their behavior. So, it kind of seems if you're having trouble intellectually, you are going to have trouble behaviorally as well. The next one I'm going to talk about is emotional behavior. So, emotional behavior is usually like chronic um, and severe, like a mixture. They're going to have um, different, there's different things that could be wrong. They're going to have a normal type of intelligence level, but they may have an anxiety. They may have mood issues. They may have schizophrenia. They may have like conduct problems. There's different emotional behavioral issues that may cause that. It may not be, they may have not always had it, but they have gained it over the years due to anything that could have happened to them. And that's also going on that's also like biological and environmental. So something could have been wrong biologically, but also the environment surrounding them could have affected them, or they had those emotional and behavioral issues. Next one is autism. So autism usually occurs very, very early childhood. You could usually tell if they have challenges in their everyday function, if they, can't do this or can't do that in an everyday setting, not just in a school setting. The autism, they are on a scale, so they are part of a spectrum. So, they could be low on the spectrum or they could be high on the spectrum as well. And that's usually caused by a biomedical and environmental maternal infections. There's different things that could lead to a child having autism physiologically. So multiple disabilities. If someone has multiple disabilities, that means it's not just, communication and it's not just learning, it's a mixture of them. So they have more than one that's going to affect their learning. That is a biological type thing if they're going to have multiple things. And it's definitely, they have a severity of educational needs. They need a lot more than just a small thing educationally. They need more help. They need more assistance in doing certain things. Physical and health. So physical and health, it doesn't usually affect them mentally. It's physically most of the time. So that can be anywhere from asthma, cerebral palsy, spina bifida, epilepsy. Those things, they all kind of do different things. Like epilepsy, you could have a reaction to flashing lights or stuff that causes seizures randomly. With asthma, trouble breathing, if you get really tired or whatnot, you will have trouble breathing and such. The next one I'm going to talk about is brain injury. So brain injury isn't something that occurs before you're born. It usually occurs afterwards, from a car accident to getting hit in the head. There's many different factors that can lead to getting a brain injury. After that brain injury, it could be anywhere from physical, emotional, behavioral, or social, or a mixture of those things, because they do have a brain injury that has affected them. Hearing loss, so they can't hear at all or well. So their kind of limitations or their issues is more of like reading and writing. They can't hear, so they can't necessarily hear like if they're saying the word right or if they're understanding the full word. So reading and writing is a really large, characteristic of having a hearing loss disability. Visual impairment. They, either have limited vision or they cannot see at all. This kind of affects everything. Obviously, you can't really read and write because you cannot see. And it also has like a limited ability to learn incidentally from the environment. That meaning you can't really learn from the environment. You can't see things to learn that that's not correct. Like you don't know everything that's going on in the environment, so you're not exactly learning all the things that other people would be learning in an environment. The last one I was going to talk about is gifted and talented. It's not really a disability. It's actually like more of like an exceptional thing. You're a gifted and talented student. You're at least average, if not above average student, and you go into a program that is catered to you. It's catered to a higher level of learning. So your IQ score is pretty high. You're able to process information really well and really quickly, and you're able to learn on a normal pacing basis or even a faster pacing. Like you're ahead of your grade. You're ahead of your age group. Like you really can understand and process the information greatly. So now I'm going to go out and talk about how to apply the principles of universal design for learning and differentiated instruction to meet needs of all students. So, universal design. You want to not just cater to one student, you want to cater to multiple. You want to cater to the whole class to help everyone's needs, not just one person's needs. You want to make sure that everyone has the same opportunities and gets the same help. You don't really want to single someone out as much. So, to provide multiple means of representation, which is kind of like material teachers can use to represent stuff, more clarification in class, clarify things that you're showing them or that they're like doing or seeing. You can also support decoding. Make sure that they are properly decoding and support them. Decode this sentence, decode this word, try to figure out what it means without, just raising your hand and asking. Support them to learn how to decode something. Another thing is visual and auditory alternatives. So, see if there's anything visually they can do differently. Instead of putting on the board, maybe give them a copy of a PowerPoint or things like that. And also auditory alternatives. So maybe if that's showing them like a video that like talks differently than you do. They just need differences to hear things, especially if they have disabilities, like speak louder, depending on the type of class and the type of situation. Another thing is to illustrate more. Illustrate what you're talking about, what you guys are working on. Make sure they can like see it, the whole picture. And in some cases that means to illustrate more. Illustrate what you are doing and what you are trying to say. Another thing is highlight important patterns and features. So when you're reading a passage or doing math, and make them highlight or emphasize those important factors in those situations, in those presentations. So a big part of the thing is you are going to be like, this is a very knowledgeable factor of the teaching environment. You're helping their knowledgeable skills. You're helping them gain this knowledge by using these different materials as a teacher for the classroom. The next one is providing multiple means of action and expression, which is basically you're providing alternate ways to demonstrate. So providing alternate ways to demonstrate, you're going to want to vary the methods of instruction and response. You know, if you just make them raise their hand all the time, they're not going to be too eagerly to raise their hand. So make them do different types of response. Maybe like who can like hit a buzzer and say it the fastest, or just find another way to get different methods for response and instruction. Another thing is optimize more tools and assistive technology. So tools could be writing tools or paper tools, any kind of tools. Like optimize those more so they're more interactive, and optimize those assistive technology. There's tons of assistive technology out there, and use that more in class, not just for one person, but use it for the whole class. It could ultimately help a full class, not just that one student. Another thing is multiple media tools. So don't just use, a PowerPoint. Like, say if you guys can have a board, or use, like, show something on the computer, or, let them do different things with different types of media to, get them more involved, and get them more ways to help them demonstrate things. Another thing is build fluency with support and practice. You don't want to one day help them with this and not help them another day. You want to build that practice and that support. You want to build that relationship so they know that you will support them and you will help them, and you can also create a fluency throughout the class with as much, like, they know, like, if you guys are struggling, you're going to be fluent in being able to help them at all times. Another one is appropriate goal setting. Make sure they're appropriately goal setting, and help them with that in class. Assist them in that goal setting. See if that can really help them understand what they're doing in classes and what the goal is of what they are doing in classes. This means of action expression is really goal oriented. It wants the teacher to be able to help the kids be more goal oriented. They want to know what they are working towards. And the last one is providing multiple means of engagement. So materials, it means materials taking advantage of the student interest. You want to find those materials that is going to help you gain that student's interest, because you want a student to be interested and engaged in your class. So give them more individual choice, not individual choice if they want to do the assignment, more individual choice like on the assignment or on a project. Give them more individual tasks to do where they can be creative and they can try to find something in their individual task that can help motivate them and push them to succeed. Another thing is minimize distractions. That's a big thing. You want to keep their interest and keep their engagement by minimizing distractions. Don't let them sit there and tap on a pen. So if they want to be focused and they're not writing into things, set the stuff on the ground. Find little ways to minimize distraction. Another thing is vary demands and resources. Don't just tell them every single day that they're going to do this, I'm going to do that. Vary it. Make it every day a little different. Don't make every assignment they do the same. Don't make everything that you say the same. You want to build consistency in the classroom, but you want to vary the demand and you want to vary the resources they use so they are always engaged in interest. If I sit there and I have to write on notebook paper and never do anything but write on notebook paper every day, I'm not going to be fully engaged. We want to vary that. The last thing for this one is develop self-assessments and reflection. If they can self-reflect on what they learned and then self-assess on how they think they did, that's going to, they're going to be more motivated. They want to see their assessment and their reflection in a good light. They don't want to see, oh, I didn't, my assessment is like horrible, I didn't do that well, or my reflection isn't that good. You want them to be motivated to succeed. So helping them develop those self-assessment and those self-reflection ideas is a very great option for the classroom. So that is what I was here to talk to you guys about today. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.